Hello everybody, my name's John Locke. I'd like to welcome you to The Winning Trade, but first the required disclaimer material. This presentation is given for educational purposes only. We're not broker-dealers or financial advisors, and we're not making any specific trade recommendations. Also, please be aware that your risk in trading options is substantial, and please make sure you are aware of all your risks prior to placing any trades. Also note that in the presentation today, we will be covering hypothetical computer simulated trades and or results. They're believed to be as accurately represented as possible, but keep in mind that live results can vary from simulated results for many, many different reasons. If this is your first experience with us, my name is John Locke. I'm a trading performance and success coach with Lock in Your Success LLC. And myself and my team are here to help you win in the markets and in life as well. And today, what we're going to discuss is high probability income options trading. This is where we utilize strategies to make money from the passage of time rather than depending solely on price movement alone, meaning we can often make money whether the market goes up, down, or sideways. Now, this doesn't mean we're going to win all the time, but it does put the odds heavily in our favor, and we generally going to tend to do much better than we would otherwise. So let's get moving. So I have a special treat for you today, and this comes about from a dilemma that I had. And that dilemma was, which trade is my favorite trade? You see, I had this idea for the last several months now that when we get to the end of the year and all the results come in from all our trading strategies, that we would present an income trade of the year. Now, we covered approximately 12 different strategies on the winning trade, but I wanted to pick out which one did the best, or which one I was in love with the most for the year of 2020. And when I started looking at the strategies, one of the things I realized is that not all of us are interested in the same thing. Sure, we're all interested in having reasonably good returns with our strategies, but there's many different reasons why you might love one trade over another, or you might pick a trade for strategy of the year over another. And at first, when I was going to choose a trade, I was going to choose the strategy that had the best overall performance. I mean, who doesn't want a strategy that has fantastic performance? But then I thought about that and I said, well, performance isn't everything. So I thought, well, I wonder which strategies or what's most important or what my viewers value most in a strategy. Do they value overall performance? Do they value consistency of performance? You see, that's not the same thing, right? We can have a trading strategy that does fantastically well for a given year and have a very varying win-loss rate. We could also have a strategy that does fantastic one year and does terrible the next year. What I'm saying is just because a certain strategy happened to do very, very well in 2020 doesn't necessarily mean it's a strategy that somebody would love or is their favorite strategy. So another metric that a lot of traders are concerned with is consistency of performance. In other words, how often does that trading strategy win versus how often might that trading strategy lose? And while overall performance generally trumps out consistency of the performance, in other words, you can have a strategy that consistently loses, or have a strategy that wins a lot but makes 5% a year, right? So you can have those. But which one is more important to you? Is the overall performance, or is it the consistency of the strategy? Or perhaps it's simplicity in execution. You know, we can have a strategy that does extremely well over long periods of time and has very consistent performance, but it's so complicated and so complex, and maybe it requires constant management that a trader just really wouldn't like the strategy. In other words, they wouldn't love it and they wouldn't consider it as strategy of the year. So we want to factor in all these things when we're deciding which strategy should win. And one of the things to realize is, yes, we want all this, right? We want the highest overall performance. We want consistent performance that wins every single time, and we want that trading strategy to be extremely simple. Unfortunately, just like if you take a car, for example, you can't have the best car for the snow, in other words, like a big four-wheel drive pickup truck, and also have the best car to go down, a flat track race course or like with a Formula One. Okay, so If you're driving a Formula One, it's not going to go in the snow. If you're driving a four-wheel drive truck, it's not going to compete against a Formula One in its environment. So my point being, there's always compromises, and depending on what your personality is and what you're looking for and the amount of work you want to put in, then that's going to determine which trading strategy is going to be right for you. So what I decided to do here today is I decided to tell you about the strategies and give you an idea of their overall performance, their consistency of performance, and their simplicity or complexity in their execution. And then what I want to do is I want to put up a vote and let the viewers decide which strategy is going to be the winning trade strategy of the year. So out of the 12 strategies, I actually picked 6. I picked our 6 top performing strategies for 2020. Let's take a look at those. We can go over and evaluate their results, their consistency, and I'll also talk a little bit about the complexity of each of the strategies. All right, so this should be fun. So these are the contenders. These are the ones that I picked. Number 1 would be the Mighty Rock. So the Rock strategy returned 99.2% return in the year 2020. And again, I know 2020 is not over yet, but we track these trades from expiration cycle to expiration cycle, and the December expiration cycle just closed. So as of the close of December expiration cycle, we have a 99.2% return on the Rock. That is phenomenal as far as overall returns, and we'll talk a little bit about the strategy later. Let's talk about the other contenders first. Then we have the powerful V32 strategy. That returned a 68.8% return for the year. And again, phenomenal return. You don't see that in a lot of trading, especially non-subjective trading, where we are not paying attention to technical analysis and we're going by a strict set of rules, especially in a year like 2020, where the market's really been all over the place. And then we have the time-tested M3. And that returned, I have 2 numbers here for the return, so I just want to point out what those mean. So I have 82.9 and 41.5%. Now, with the M3, that is what we call an overlapping trade. In other words, our Rock trade is a short-term 30-day trade. Therefore, if we're doing 30-day cycles, we're only have one trade on at a time. Same thing for the V32. The M3, on the other hand, is a trading strategy that goes a little bit longer. We have 56 days to expiration we go in. So there are going to be times when there are overlapping trades. That being the case, then I make a correction for the actual return here. So if we take a trade for trade return, we did 12 trades for the M3, and the trade for trade return is 82.9%, which is phenomenal, by the way. It is the best year that I think we've ever had in the M3. And if you take that and you consider the fact you overlap trades, I would cut that in half and call that 41.5%, assuming you were trading this with the total amount of capital that you have in your account. Okay, you could get a 41%, 41.5% return on your account, and again, the trade for trade return would be 82.9. The next strategy we have is the reliable X4 version 14. Now, this did a 78.1% trade for trade, which is phenomenal, and that ended up with a 39. If you make a correction for the fact we have overlapping trades, that's a 39.6% return at an account level. And then we have the dependable M3.4U, which was slightly under that at 75.1%. And if you adjust that for overlapping trades, we have 37.5. And then we have the pure, the simple, the Super Bowl. And that did a trade for trade return of 271%. Absolutely incredible. However, the way this trading strategy works is you can really, if you had an account, right, I want to equalize these trading strategies so we get a realistic comparison. If you were to equalize that, when you do the Super Bowl, you could really, wouldn't recommend, put it this way, I wouldn't recommend trading more than 10% of an account with a Super Bowl. So if we cut that down for an account return, that'd be about 27%. 0.2%. Still excellent, excellent returns here. So those are the contenders. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about the strategies themselves. We'll start with the rock trade. So the Mighty Rock is our best performing strategy nearly every year. We've been tracking this strategy, I think, since 2011, so almost 10 years, and it's pretty consistently up near 100%. We have years that are more, years that are less, but that's a pretty average number. It's just a fantastic strategy. However, it is a highly complex strategy. It's rules-based, but it's also adaptable. In other words, the rules of the strategy change as certain conditions happen in the marketplace. And we have multiple configurations, and we have multiple guidelines for it. And in other words, it's complex. It's a very high level, we call it a stage 4 advanced level trading strategy. This is the last strategy we get into before we get into stage 5 or our pro membership. Again, very dynamic, very powerful, but also very high level, and it's pretty complex. The next strategy is a V32. It's also a shorter term strategy that's about 30 days. This strategy is much, much more simple than a rock trade. In fact, I would call it one of our more simple strategies, and it also returned an extremely good 68.8% this year. However, it's less consistent. So if you were to look at the V32, and we'll take a look at its win-loss rate. Actually, let's do that. Let's look at the V32 right now, and we'll kind of bring our results down for the year. Let's jump to the rock first. So let's go back to the rock, and this is what we had for month to month. So we trade this a 30-day cycle, and we trade it every cycle of the year. Again, no technical analysis, but this is adaptive. In other words, depending on what the implied volatility is doing, the trade's going to be entered differently. So this strategy here has a 20% profit target. It has a 20% maximum loss. This is how we did for the year. So January, we had a 20% gain or a full gain. February, we got caught up a little bit in the market here and returned 1.9%. In March, that was the big COVID crash, and even the Mighty Rock failed on that. So these strategies, they don't win every cycle, but they do very well. And we ended up taking a 20% loss in March. And then in April, we're back at 10.6%, May 10.4%, June 10.3%, July 11.7%, August. How's that for consistency, by the way, right? 10, 10, 10, 11, 13, September 6.6, October 14.6, November 13.8, and our December, with the moves in the Russell here, was a little bit down from normal, but fantastic return for the year, for a year-to-date return of 99.15%, and our adjusted for account is this going to be the same because we are not we don't have to overlap the trades. So that's what we got for consistency and for returns with the rock trade. If we go to the V32, you're going to notice the consistency comes down quite a bit. It's a much more simplistic trading strategy. Still did very well overall, but we had a 6% in January, and then we had a couple losses. We had a loss in February that was minor. We had a normal loss in March, and to be expected. This, if you remember, the V32 is a slightly bullish strategy. Did not like the COVID crash. Back in April, though, 17.5, 15.5, 10.7, 22.5, 10.0 for August. September is 8.8. Then we had another couple, a little bit of a rough period here. We had a minus 8.2, minus 7.4 for October, November, and then December we're back up to a positive 8% for a year-to-date return of 68.8%. Again, no overlap, so that's at an account level. Again, a fantastic return and a much simpler strategy. However, our consistency wasn't as high. If you remember, in the rock trade, even with the crazy market movement we had this year, we won 11 trades with the rock trade. We lost 1 trade with the rock trade. This year we had 8 wins and 4 losses. So the consistency's down a little bit, but it's extremely powerful as far as returns go. So what do we have next here? We have the time-tested M3. So what can I tell you about the M3? The M3 strategy is the most time-tested strategy, income strategy that is out there in the marketplace. This was literally my first strategy, the first one that I created. This is the second program I created, but it's the first strategy I created. We've had hundreds and hundreds of traders live trading this strategy in the marketplace since 2007. And that's a total of what? That's 13 years of live experience with this strategy. And year after year, it consistently does well. It's very consistent. It's very time tested. It's proven, again, in the live markets. And this year, this happened to be actually the best year that we've ever had for the strategy with the 82% trade for trade return. It's been just fantastic. It continues to amaze me. So anyway, as far as what the M3 did this year for consistency and so forth, as far as returns, this is what we had on our M3. So we had a 11.2% return in January. We had 3.1 in February. We had March and April were the COVID crash months, and they ended up losing our maximum loss or our exit loss trigger is 10% on this strategy. So 10.6 and 10.7. We had we have a profit target at 10% in this strategy, but we did have some runs over 10%. And again, that kind of happens when you're close to expiration and all of a sudden you get a move in your favor and all of a sudden you're up more than you think. So May ended up being 14.7, 10.3 in June, 10.9 in July, 10 in August, 11.5 in September, 13.2 in October, 14 in November, and 5.4% in December. So again, just a fantastic run, very consistent strategy. We had 10 wins, 2 losses in this one. It is more complex than the V32. It's more consistent. Generally, our overall returns are a little bit lower. Again, in this case, it was about half, right? Because when we adjust for our account overlap, we have about 41.5%. But again, this strategy is just amazing. I love this strategy. So let's go to our next strategy. We'll tell you about that. We call this the Reliable X4 version 14. It's our neutral strategy within our X4 strategy series. And again, this one did a little bit less than the M3, 78.1, still fantastic return. If we take a look at that for the year, this is what we got. Let's see, X4 version 14 is here. We had January, we had 3.6%, 3.0% for February, a minus 3.6% for March. So that huge crash that we had in March, one of the biggest point moves we've ever had in the SPX to the downside, and of course we had the V reversal. We only lost 3.6%. April was 11.4, May was 11.1, June 11.5, July 11.6, August, how's that for consistency, right? August 11.14, September 9, October 8.5. Then we had another loss in November. We had a strange implied volatility thing going on, and we hit it with a loss in November. And then December, we're back at 12.45% for a year-to-date return, trade for trade at 78.12, and adjusted for account overlap of 39.06. A very exciting strategy. What I like about the X4 version 14 is it's very consistent, and not only from month to month, but it's also very consistent from year to year. And it's also one of our more simple stage 3 trading strategies. So that is the X4 version 14. Then we have the dependable M3.4U. This strategy is the core strategy that we use in our Trader Success Blueprint within our Go membership. The M3.4U we use to bring traders into a simple broken wing butterfly trading strategy that's easy to trade and performs very, very well and very consistently over time. So our M3.4U, if I take a look at how that did this year, we had a 2.6 gain in February, a 9.3 in I'm sorry, 2.6 January, 9.3 February. We had our losses related to the COVID crash. This performs very much like your typical M3 Classic. Year-to-year average, I think, is slightly higher than our M3 Classic, but our year-to-year consistency is a little bit below our M3 Classic. So again, there's trade-offs for everything depending on what you're looking for. But this is certainly a lot more simple than an M3 Classic. We have our May at 8.8, June 6.9, 16.9 in July, 18.5 in August, 13.6 in September, 9.4 in October, 8.1 in November, and December was 2.0 for a trade-to-trade return of 75.06. And again, this is an overlapping strategy, so you would cut that in half for an account level type of return. I love the M3.4U strategy. We came up with it, or I came up with it in our trader transformation workshop. And I went in, we back tested it, we did all the things that to do that, and we've been trading it on our options trading for income Monday morning webinar since. And again, I liked it so much, I put that as the core strategy for our developing traders in our stage 3 of our Trader Success Blueprint. And it's just been proven to do well in the live market, so we love it. And the last strategy here, but certainly not the least, is going to be the pure and simple and powerful Super Bull strategy. So the Super Bull is, I would even call it it's a stage 2 strategy, but you can even use it for stage 1. It's in our FIT program within our Go membership, and the strategy's as simple as a strategy can be. It's put a bullish vertical spread on by time. You don't even monitor it for the first half of the trade. If it's up money during the second half of the trade, we just take it off. This one is the one that maybe isn't exactly an income trade, but it has a really high probability historically. So the results for the year for the Super Bowl, we have January plus 59%, 59% in February. March, we have 51%. We have 107% loss. Now, how can we have more than 100% loss? Sometimes the actual structural risk in the trade is different than the planned capital. So in this trade here in the membership, our simulation's $1,000 planned capital on a $10,000 account. Sometimes with strange implied volatility skews, we can get a little bit more than $1,000 capital in the trade, in which case if we take a total loss on the position, which we did in April, then it's going to equal more than 100% of our planned capital. But most of the time we can get in for a little bit over or a little bit under the $1,000. That's where that number comes from. And as far as relative to account size, that doesn't really matter so much because we're trading a $1,000 trade in a $10,000 account. It doesn't really matter if the actual capital's, say, $1,200 in the position. It doesn't stress that number. So anyway, that was our loss in April from the COVID crash. May was 15% positive, June was 13, July was 56.6, August 27.6, 47.1 in September. October ended up being a break even, so that wasn't a win or a loss. November was 27.6%. December was 22.1%. 10 wins, 1 loss. Total trade for trade return of 271.6. If we try to equalize that so we can compare the strategies, it would be comparable to a 27.16% return in the other strategies. Still an excellent return for a super simple strategy that requires virtually no management. I mean, it's enter or exit. And that's what I love about that trade. And long-term history win rate on this trade is that it wins over 80% of the time, historically from 2008 till today. And again, it's just a fantastic, fantastic strategy, which is what makes the choice so hard. So depending on what you're looking for, are you looking for the overall performance? If that's the case, the Rock is clearly the winner as far as overall performance. Are you looking in consistency of performance? Again, the Rock is a contender there, the M3 is a contender there, M3.4U is a contender there, a lot of them. Super Bowl is a good contender there. Are you looking for simplicity and execution? The simplicity and execution, you're looking at like a Super Bowl. An M3.4U is also very simple. The V14 is pretty simple. So those would be the more simplistic strategies, and all of them performed really well for the year. So what is it for you? If you need more information on the strategies or you want to see some examples on these strategies, go to thewinningtrade.com and check out our past episodes. So the Mighty Rock, that was done in episode, or have examples in episodes 34, 13, and 6. The Powerful V32 are in episodes 35, 27, and 9. The Time-Tested M3, 39, 31, 21, and 14. The Reliable X4 is going to be episodes 33, 24, 18, and 8. The M3.4U is going to be 42, 37, 29, 17, and 4. And the Pure and Super Bowl, we have examples in 36, 28, 19, and 7. So I encourage you to go ahead and vote for your favorite strategy. I can't wait for these votes to come in. I'm just really excited to see which one or which value you prefer when you're voting for a strategy and which strategy you love the most. So just to do that, just click on the circle in the upper right corner, and then when the links come down, click on the top link. Or you can watch your email, where we will provide you with a fast, easy link in order for you to vote on the strategy. Now, we're going to reveal the 2020 winning trading strategy of the year and provide an exciting example of your favorite strategy on the next winning trade. So if you haven't done so yet, please remember to subscribe today and discover how you too can follow along with this and many other great strategies as they unfold during our weekly Options Trading for Income meetings and our weekly update webinars. And also remember to go to lockinyoursuccess.com, that's LOCKENyoursuccess.com, where you can learn about upcoming winning trade presentations. You could also explore past winning trades, and you can receive access to free bonus material as well as our Trading Success Blueprint to help you become successful as a trader as quickly as possible. And also make sure you check out our free Trading Performance podcast, where you can skyrocket your results through upgrading your trading psychology. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you, or anything you'd like to see on the next winning trade, we'd also love to hear from you. And to do that, simply comment on this video below so we can get those questions answered for you. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you get your vote in, and I'm excited to see who the winner is or which trading strategy the winner is, and present that to you on the next winning trade. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next winning trade.